After waiting for what feels like an eternity for the Nintendo Switch 2, it's almost finally here, and to be honest, it feels kinda surreal. The Nintendo Switch has to be one of my favorite consoles ever, if not my absolute favorite, with some of my all-time favorite games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 3. It's weird looking back and realizing just how much time I've spent with this thing. It's been there through so many different phases of my life, whether I was playing something new or replaying an old favorite. I don't think I've ever felt this attached to a console before. Therefore, I wanted to take one final look at the Nintendo Switch before the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, and share some of my favorite moments and my favorite games after a little more than 8 years of playing on the Switch. In the past 8 years, the games I mostly play have changed significantly. One of the series I discovered on the Nintendo Switch is maybe now my favorite video game series at the moment, being Xenoblade Chronicles. The first time I saw something Xenoblade related was Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in a game store in 2017, and I can remember that I really loved the box art, but quickly forgot about it. But then when Pyra and Mythra got announced for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, they felt really familiar. And then at the end of the trailer where the logo popped onto the screen, it suddenly came all back to me, and I purchased the game immediately. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was my first proper JRPG, and it seriously blew me away. Of course, the game is not perfect and can be cringe at sometimes, but I loved the world building in this game and put over 600 hours into the game, and finally 100%ed the game in the summer of 2023. Of course, after beating Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in the beginning of 2022, I played through Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 3, and Future Connected Torna and Future Redeemed, which Future Redeemed I played 19 hours straight and finished on its release day, which was kinda crazy. I decided to wait to play Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition because when it came out I was in the middle of playing Persona 4 Golden and some other games, but I will definitely give it a try at some point on Nintendo Switch too. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was of course the launch title for the Nintendo Switch, and when I got my hands on my Nintendo Switch, this was of course the first game I had to get. So I bought the Nintendo Switch with Breath of the Wild and wanted to freaking switch, but when I got it, I never really played it. Formerly when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Splatoon 2 came out later that year, I quite forgot about it. But after some years I started Breath of the Wild from the very beginning, and oh my god, what a game. The regret I had when I finished the game that I didn't play it at launch, it was crazy. Therefore, I was so excited for Tears of the Kingdom, and yet again, I didn't really get that far into the game till I stopped playing. But luckily 4 months later I finished the game and it was just like Breath of the Wild, so freaking good. I didn't really want to see videos of side comparisons from the Nintendo Switch 1 and 2 because I knew that I was going to be so excited that I couldn't wait anymore, and yeah, it's like putting glasses on for the first time because oh my god, the difference is crazy. I am so excited for these upgrade packs. Although I managed to discover so many different game franchises on the Nintendo Switch, I had one specific franchise that I absolutely loved since childhood, which was a bit of a mess in the Nintendo Switch era, being Pokemon. Don't get me wrong, I actually quite enjoyed most of the games that they put out on the Nintendo Switch, but they are definitely way worse than the ones from the DS and 3DS era. Most of the times I don't really care about the graphics, but the graphics from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were way too bad to ignore. But besides that, I actually quite like the story and formally the end, because oh my god, the final battle against the professors with this freaking banger. I also really like that it was open world, but come on, this is crazy. The best Pokemon game on Nintendo Switch is by far Pokemon Legends Arceus in my opinion. When the game first came out, I loved it right away, and 100%ing the Pokédex in this game was much more fun than in the other mainline Pokemon games. I also loved the post-game of this game. Foremost the fight against Follow, which is one of the sickest Pokemon battles in the entire franchise, but also the Arceus fight when you had completed your Pokédex was so freaking cool. I am quite disappointed the Pokemon Legends CA is going to stick with the same art style as Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but strangely enough, I see some upgrades, and the frames per second is not going to be an issue anymore because the Switch 2 runs butterly smooth. As one of the 6 Pokemon X and Y enjoyers, I absolutely can't wait for this game to come out. Another series I was already familiar with was the Splatoon series. And in the past 8 years, we not only got one Splatoon game, but we got actually 2. I've been a fan of the series since the very beginning, but when Splatoon 2 and eventually Splatoon 3 got released, it became one of my favorite video game series. I can remember that I always had a Splatoon 2 phase every 3 or somewhat months and just couldn't get enough of the game. But when Splatoon 3 eventually came out, they introduced the catalog, a somewhat battle system that would have 100 levels with 100 rewards that you needed to complete in a 3-month time period. Because of this, I played Splatoon Splatoon 3 so much since I just didn't want to miss a single reward. And therefore, I liked Splatoon 3 more than Splatoon 2. Of course, at the beginning, some of the stages were kind of bad, but in general, I just really liked Splatoon 3 game-wise. It just didn't really capture the same vibes as Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 did. But I need to say, one of my favorite moments from the entire console was the Grand Fest in Splatoon 3. The excitement I felt when I played my first matches and explored the new hub, it was just so cool. At the end, Team Pest also won, so I was so happy because Squid Sister Supremacy here, and I lost the previous 2 final Splatfest, so I got my redemption arc. Of course, it wouldn't be a Nintendo console without Mario, and the Switch definitely delivered, because we got over 30 different Mario games. Calm down. One of the first games I played on the Nintendo Switch was Super Mario Odyssey, and to be honest, I did like it, but I found it nothing special at first. But after replaying it multiple times, I became a bigger fan of the game. It is still by far not one of my favorite Mario games, but I do quite like it now. Then there's Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the newest 2D Mario, and man, it really surprised me. I loved the Wonder effects. The Wonder effects made every level feel unique and surprising, and the animation style was just so full of personality. The new art direction was such a nice change, and I hope that the next Mario Bros. Game is going to be something like this, because this game rocked. Then I needed to talk about Paper Mario the Origami King. I have never been a really big fan of the Mario RPG series, so when I first bought it in 2020 when it came out, I only put 5 hours into it or something. But out of nowhere, I played through the entire game and even 100%ed it. And I think weirdly enough, this is my favorite Mario game on Nintendo Switch. I know the newer Paper Mario games get mixed opinions, but I actually had a great time with this one. I found the writing really funny, the environments were creative, and that final boss battle was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a Mario game. The only downside was the combat system, yeah. We don't really need to talk about that. And that of course the best selling game on Nintendo Switch being Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It honestly feels kind of weird to have played essentially the same game for over 10 years now, but I'm so happy that it finally came to an end with Mario Kart World releasing on launch day. I absolutely love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and although I really like the crossover characters and maps, I am so relieved that we get a new Mario Kart and not a Nintendo card, and I feel like this is the perfect time to finally close the chapter of this era. But I also would have said that 4 years ago. I cannot wait to see what kind of chaos and creativity Mario Kart World brings next. One thing that I do know is that this roster is one of the best rosters I've ever seen. Oh my god. Fire Emblem was one of those series that I had always kind of known about, but I never really got into it until I played Fire Emblem Three Houses. I didn't know what to expect at first, but oh my god, this game completely pulled me in. The characters, the story, the time skip, and all the different choices you could make, it just kept getting better and better. I picked the Black Eagles for my first playthrough, and Edelgard quickly became one of my favorite characters in the series. After finishing the game, I immediately wanted to start another playthrough with a different house because I just had to know what happened from the other side. As of now, I have only played the Black Eagles route and the Church of Cyrus routes. Then later when Fire Emblem Engage came out, I was kinda nervous that I wouldn't like it as much, but I actually kind of enjoyed it too. The gameplay was way more focused on the battles, and I liked how you could summon all the older characters with the emblem rings. The story wasn't as deep as Three Houses, but it still had some twists. But the best point of this game is really the combat. It was really addicting. I wouldn't say I liked it more than Three Houses, but I had a great time with both, and I'm glad we got 2 totally different kinds of Fire Emblem experiences on the Switch. And now I can't wait for the next Fire Emblem game. Give me now! When Animal Crossing New Horizons came out, it was such a big moment. It was of course at the beginning of the pandemic, so everyone was at home, and everyone started playing New Horizons. I started playing Animal Crossing on the Wii, and became a super big fan when I played Animal Crossing New Leaf on the 3DS, when I was younger. So I was so happy that everyone started to play Animal Crossing, and that it actually took over the world. It was super chill and relaxing, and it gave me something to look forward to every day, like checking my shops or talking to my villagers or decorating a side of my island. At first I thought it was going to be a little slow for me, but I got so addicted. I spent hours and hours designing my island, catching bugs and planting flowers, and I also really liked the seasonal events. Except for Sibber. I had 2 weeks straight nightmares from him. Looking back, that first 3-month period with Animal Crossing New Horizons was one of the most wholesome gaming experiences I've ever had in my life. I don't play it much anymore, but it will always remind me of a really specific and kind of special time in my life, and I'm really grateful for that. The last game made by Nintendo I want to talk about is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which honestly felt like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of game. I had played Smash before on the Wii and 3DS, but I didn't really know what I was doing. When I was playing with some friends, I was only jumping around and everything besides fighting, but Ultimate just blew me away. The fact that literally every character was in it and then they just kept adding more, it felt like the craziest crossover ever. I remember watching all the reveal trailers live and freaking out every single time. Of course, Pyra and Mithra getting added was such a hype moment for me because that's how I really discovered Xenoblade. And then there was of course Sora, Sephiroth, Banjo and Joker. It was just hit after hit. I spent so many hours just playing World of Light, doing spirit battles. Even when I was playing it, it felt like the game everyone had. It's just one of those games that defined the Switch for me. And I don't think there will ever be another Smash game that hits this hard again. Unless Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Deluxe. So that was my final look back at the Nintendo Switch. It's honestly kind of emotional to say goodbye to a console that's been such a huge part of my life for the past 8 years. From discovering new favorite games to revisiting old classics, the Switch was always just there for me. Of course, there's not really that much that is going to change, besides Pokemon games that are going to run decently, but it's weird thinking about how much I've changed since 2017, and that this console's 8 years old. Now with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out literally tomorrow, I'm more excited than ever to see what comes next. New adventures, new memories, and maybe even a few surprises. But no matter what happens, the Nintendo Switch will always be one of my favorite consoles of all time. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments what your favorite Nintendo Switch game and memories were. And see you all the next time. Goodbye!